Boom. Share my screen. All right. Cool. So this is where we were yesterday. We had this cities list component, and the cities list component was trying to get all the cities. And then if we noticed that there was some kind of an error, we figured to ourselves that, hey, that error was probably that we weren't authorized to get the cities because we're not logged in. But there was one thing that I wasn't adding, and it was the same thing in the login component here. So when I sent this post request with our login credentials, I was just sending the data itself, and I was not including this extra object here. We need to include a separate argument to our Axios requests that's an object. And inside that object, you need to specify that it is with credentials. Okay? So by specifying with credentials, that means that the cookie is going to be not only sent along, like whatever cookies we have established will be sent along with the request, but also when the server attempts to set a cookie, it will also be set in the browser. So what was happening before is that we were sending this login request. The server was attempting to set the cookie, but because we didn't include this here, it wasn't being set in the browser. Okay. So let's test this out. Let's make sure that our login part is working. Got the project still running here. And you guys can see that I have no cookies right now. So I'll try to log in. Okay. It took me here, and you can see that we now have this cookie established, right? Okay. Now let me clear all the cookies. And if I refresh this page, we should get bounced back out to our login reg. See? All right, any questions about that before I continue on?
What are those little symbols at the end of the input fields?
Oh, yeah, these are because I use LastPass.
Oh, okay, I remember
So if you use
that.
LastPass as a password manager, you can click on that and it'll tell you, do you have saved passwords for the site? Okay. All right, cool. So we're pretty much there. We can at least log in. The only thing is we can't log out, right? So probably we're going to want to create some sort of a logout component to handle that. So if I go back in my code here, inside the components folder, I'll just create a new component. And we'll just call this logout button. Okay, I need to import React, of course. And then the other thing that I'm going to need is I'm going to want to import navigate from reach router, because once a person has successfully logged out, I want to basically navigate them back to that login page. Also, we need Axios, right? Because we know we're going to make a request here. Oops. Import navigate from reach. Okay, cool. And I'm going to export a default function. We can call it logout button. Okay. And inside that logout button, I'm going to have a function that will allow me to send this request, right? So I'm going to say function, we'll call it handle click. And when a person clicks on that button, we're going to make this request to Axios, right? I'm going to say Axios dot delete. Okay, and the route that we wrote in our backend is going to be, get this out of the way real quick, is going to be /API/users/logout. We have to be careful here to include this second options argument, which I had forgotten about yesterday, and just say with credentials. And that way the actual cookie will be submitted with this request, because we're going to want to clear it on the server. Okay, what's this going to return me, guys? Everyone chime in there. Promise. Boom. Okay. And so here, let's just have our dot then. What do we want to do? Let's send them back to that login page, right? Promise callback. Okay, so let's say navigate, and we're going to navigate them to login. I'm going to leave out the .catch here. Probably the only reason we would ever get an error at this point is if our server just wasn't running, or if this thing were actually deployed. If you had your client and your server running on different servers or something like that, then there could be some issue. All right, so let's just render out some JSX here. We'll have a button, and we'll just say log out. Okay, on click, handle, click. All right, this look pretty good to everyone? Any questions about this? Would you still say it's a good habit to always put a .catch every time? Yeah, yes, I would. And if we want to be kind of diligent about that, for now, we'll just log out what our error is if we get one. Not a bad idea to do that. Cool. So we've got our logout button, and let's just stick that somewhere where we want to be able to log out. So the way that I currently have this app configured, the only page that's even requiring login is my cities page. So I can put my button somewhere inside there. So let's go to cities list. And let's import this component, right? Import, oops, logout button from, we'll go up one level into our components /logout button. Okay, now I can just render this somewhere inside here, probably not inside the table, so I'll create these little fragment tags so that we can do it. Logout button in there. Move the rest of this a little bit. Okay, let's go back to the browser and take a quick peek at this. Okay, so now I've got my logout button. I've got my cookies showing here, so this should help once we've logged out. Click on there. Notice that the cookie's gone. If I try to go to cities again, it won't let me because I don't have the cookie established, right? And then I've got this. Okay, then the cookie's been reestablished here, and now we have this token in here. I kind of, the registration form, I was thinking probably wasn't hugely worthwhile to go through that because that's just a matter of creating some inputs and and the validation works exactly the same as it does in the other case. But is that something that you guys are dying to see? Because I'm willing to do it. I feel like maybe our time might be better spent reviewing the code that we have. Sure. I knew there's gonna be like one person that says, yeah, do it. Does anyone else really want to see it? Is it just one person? What? No, don't feel bad. It's okay. Sorry, I missed that. So Albert, I was just saying, obviously on the login reg page, we would also have a registration form. But the reason why I was kind of feeling it may not be the most effective use of our time is that registration form is going to act just like every other form that we're using in some sense, right? Does it still work like that when you would just add the cities? Could you please just, yeah, okay, we could do that. Okay. How about if we do this? How about if we create the form, but we don't, I don't know. It was the validations that was gonna like take up a lot of time. But let's go back to our login form here. Login. Okay, so right now, I've got a couple things, right? I've got email and password. We could turn this into a component if we want. So let's create registration form.js. Okay, and then here what I'm going to want is I'm going to want React. What else? Use state from React. Okay. We also need Axios because we're going to be making some requests, right? Import Axios from Axios. And then I'm going to export this default function, whoops, called registration form. Okay. This doesn't need to take in any props, so I'm just pretending like it doesn't take in anything here. And then we're going to create our state variables, right? So we'll say something like const form state set form state equals use state. And what am I going to pass to use state, guys? Put this out there to you. Initial state, yes, which is going to be what? What should that look like? Prop. What kind of prop? An empty object? Okay, close. It's not going to be totally empty. We'll have some key value pairs, and all of those values are essentially going to be empty right now, right? Yeah, so exactly. We'll say something like first name, blank, last name, blank, email, blank, password, confirmation, blank. All right. That look pretty good to you guys? Cool. Then we're going to need to have some kind of a change handler that we're going to apply to those inputs, right? So we'll say function handle change. This is going to take in what? An event. Nicely done. Okay. So from that event, I should be able to destructure the name and the value from the event.target. And then what we're going to do is we're going to apply this set form state function. So I'm going to spread across everything that's currently in my form state. And then I'm going to say, oops, name, value. Remind me again why I'm not doing this. Just want to make sure everyone really gets this. You guys can turn on your mic too if you just want to chime in. That's fine. To change it every time, that would create it. Okay, Aya's on the right track here. Yeah, so what we would be doing is we would always be changing this key called name and giving it this value. But I don't want to change a key called name. I want to be changing the actual evaluated name variable. Okay. So the name is not set to value. Kutan, can you turn on your mic and just clarify what you mean by that?
Same thing you said, basically.
Okay.
That's what I mean.
Okay, so now it's making sense though, what I was saying? Okay. All right, cool. Okay, what else are we going to need here? We're probably going to need some kind of a handle submit function too, right? Submit, and that takes in what, everyone? Event, event, event. Good. So we need to prevent the default form submission, right? Default. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make this Axios request, right? So I'm going to say Axios.post. And our post request is going to go to localhost 4000 /API /users. Okay. And then the second thing we need to provide is what is the data that we're sending along. And in this case, it's going to be all of these things, right? Our first name, last name, email, password, password confirmation. So actually, instead of me creating a new object, let's just pass along the form state, right? Okay. And then in the third argument here, let's add in that little with credentials thing so that we don't end up with the same problem we had earlier. Okay. So if everything goes well, what do I want to do then? Navigate to cities. Nice. Nicely done. Yeah, so I'm going to say here, my callback doesn't need to take any arguments here. I'm just going to navigate to /cities. Okay. That looks pretty good. Now down here, we're going to have to actually create our form. So let's return out some JSX, create a form in there, and then I'm going to attach my little submit handler, right? So on submit, handle submit. Okay, and then let's create some inputs as well. So we'll have a div here, label, first name, name equals first name. Okay, and the value is going to be what? Thank you, Aya. Appreciate that. What's the value going to be here for this first name input? Yes. It won't be dot name, it will be dot first name, right? So form state dot first name. Okay. And then our on change will be what? Change handler, which in our case is just called handle change. Good. So let's create my button down here before I forget. Submit. Semicolon as well. All right, and then let's duplicate this down a few times, right? So I got my last name, email, password confirmation. Okay. So this is last. What's the difference between doing the submit button as a button versus an input? Basically none. There is no difference. It would work the exact same way. They'll both submit the form. What the heck? Did I go too far? Oh, shoot. I changed the wrong ones. All right, so I want to change this guy. Last name. Last name. Okay, this one will be email. Email. God dang it. Stop it, VS Code. It's like getting in my way every step of the way. All right, email, and then we've got our password. And I want to actually give this one a type so that we don't see it. Okay, and then we've got this annoying password confirmation, which I think we all agree sucks. All right, type password. And then we'll just change this password. Oh, so just personal preference. Yeah, I think I just find the button to be a little bit more friendly, you know? Like that literally is what it is. It's a button. I don't need to include any attributes or whatever, right? Super simple. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we've got our form here, and let's actually drop this into this login view. Let's import registration form from, oops, I need to go up one level into components, registration form. Okay, so where do we want to put this? Over or under our login form? Does anybody have any preference there? Beside it? You want me to do CSS? Boo. Yeah, CSS, exactly. Registration form. All right, so we'll just put it underneath for now. And now we're seeing this down here. So that's pretty solid. Open up my network tab. There's one other thing that we're going to need to do on the back end just to make this work. So let's see here. Server, users controller. So before, what we were doing is we were simply returning back the token when somebody registers. Or actually, I don't even think we were returning back anything. So in register, you guys can see here, all we were doing was we were returning back this JSON object that had these two things inside of it. So instead, we want to still set this token so that they're properly logged in after they register, right? It would be annoying if you registered and then you had to go back to the, I mean, actually, I've seen this in the wild. Sometimes you have to register for a site, but they don't automatically log you in. You have to go back and then log in. Kind of annoying, right? So let's grab this code. Actually, we'll grab a bunch of this. And this could obviously be refactored as well, but let's just focus on getting this working. Oops. Okay. Oops. Okay, so when we get our new user back, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create that token and sign it, right? I'm going to set the cookie with the token in it. And then I'm just going to send back some JSON here saying status success. In this case, I guess we need to change a couple things, right? Instead of user.id, I need to now say new user.id, like that. For the exam, does our code have to be refactored? Nope. No, as long as it works. I think one thing that I was saying before, though, which is that if I do see your code and it looks to me like you've copied and pasted a bunch of stuff from code that I wrote and posted up on GitHub for you guys, I may ask you to explain what it's doing. That's for your own protection, though. It's not just to be mean or something. It's like you guys should have a pretty good idea of what's going on, right? Okay, cool. So this looks like it should work okay. I'm going to go back to the browser and see if I can register a new user here. So let's say Bob Smith, bob@smith.com. Some password. Okay, so Bob was able to successfully register, and I can log him out. Let's make sure that our cookies were getting zeroed out here. And then if I want to log him back in, and I'll put in a bad password or something like that. Okay, check your credentials. Then if I put in the correct password, boom. Yeah, whew. Took a while, but now we've got this login reg thing rocking, right? Man, yeah, party time. So where should we start going through this here? The moment of truth, right? Let's see what we wrote today. So we created this registration form. I want to talk about this real quick, where we submitted the login form. I think that was kind of important. Okay, Prativa, tell me what's going on from 17 to 22 here. And I'll close this out too, so it's a little easier to see.
So in line 17, when we are trying to log in, as we will enter the email and password, we are making the Axios post request, and to that route we are sending the email and password we typed in as object. I mean, and the curly braces that starts after right after the URL is telling us that we we are sending the object email with email, password.
Right. So these curly braces here are saying we're creating a brand new object
Mhm.
with these two things inside of it, right? Good.
And we are also sending with credentials is true, so that we can have the cookies.
Exactly. So then once we've successfully logged in, we want to make sure that the server who's going to try to set that cookie, the cookie's actually going to stick in the browser. So that's the thing that we were missing yesterday, and it wasn't
Mhm.
allowing the cookie to stick.
Yeah, and since we all know that Axios returns promise, we are doing dot then. If the promise is successfully resolved, then we are navigating the user to the city space. Then if not, then we are throwing the error message. Please check your credentials.
Right, exactly. And then that's setting the error is just going to update this error state that we have.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well done. Let's take a quick look at this logout button. Max, I hope you're still here because I can't. Oh, there you are. Yeah, cool. So tell us what's going on up here.
Oh, I thought you, that's just the importing stuff. So we're importing
Yeah.
React from React, the node modules.
Good.
Same with the Axios.
Nice.
And then we're importing Navigate from the Reach router.
Good. Navigate is what? What is this?
That's how we route, I guess, how we go between two different parts of our website.
Correct. What is it though? What kind of
It's
thing in
an,
JavaScript land?
oh, is it another function?
Yes.
Or
Boom.
yeah,
Perfect.
okay.
It's a function. Exactly. All right. What are we doing on line 5?
We're exporting our default function logout button.
Perfect.
Looks like it's a click handler.
Yeah, let's talk about this. Go ahead and take us through
Okay.
this one.
Yeah, the function is the on-click handle.
It's called
So let's see.
click.
Handle click, excuse me. Then it looks like it's just Axios handling the logout procedure. So we're going to the logout route. Can you explain the credentials thing again?
Yeah, so let's kind of break this down a little bit more. We are calling the delete method of Axios, right?
And
The
that's not
function.
technically deleting the person, it's just logging them out, right? It's like
Right.
deleting their session in a sense.
What this is, we can think of this as the HTTP verb. Remember how we had those
Okay.
different verbs? So we've got
Yeah,
post,
yeah.
get, put, and delete. So we're making a delete request to this specific route on our back end.
Okay.
Okay, and then the second argument that I've provided there is this options argument
Okay.
that Axios requests take. And what we're saying when we say with credentials true is we want to make sure that the whatever cookies are being passed back and forth between the client side and the server side get passed with this request as well.
Okay.
Okay.
And then
So
below
our
that,
delete request is returning what?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, our delete request is returning what? 1.7.
Essentially, we're just clearing out the credentials of the user, right? The logged in user.
Well, that's what the back end is going to do. But what is this returning when we call Axios.delete?
I'm sorry. I guess I'm lost. I don't know. So it's like a callback function to the actual login page.
No, it's not returning a callback function.
No.
It's returning a promise.
Oh,
Right.
okay. It's a promise. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so then on line 8, what are we doing there?
That's okay. That's what I thought where we were. I thought is that the callback function to the login page?
So our callback
the
function is right in there, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
And then we just have a dot catch and we console log out, I guess, any errors?
Yeah, whatever the error, if we got one.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, you most likely wouldn't get one on the logging out part unless your server was like not running or something of that sort.
Morley, could you go over when you said but the online 7 with credentials, you said the cookies get passed them. Can you clarify what you meant by that?
Sure. So when we make this request, we want to make sure that whatever cookies the browser now has been given by the server also get passed along with this request so that the server is going to have access. Think of the cookies as like something that's sort of being exchanged every single time we make a request.
Okay.
The browser has the cookies and it's going to pass them along to the server when we make this request. And then the server is
So-
going to do some stuff and is going to alter
Yes,
those
the
cookies.
cookie is going to get deleted as well.
Yeah,
essentially.
exactly. It's going to be cleared on the server side. Okay, and then we made some changes here to our user's controller inside this register function. Let's make sure we kind of understand what's going on here. Let me see who my next volunteer is going to be.
Victim.
Hootan.
I knew it. Okay, what line?
Yeah, so let's just talk about this right here.
Oh.
Once we've successfully created a new user, what's all this stuff that we're doing?
I have no idea.
Well, just go through it. line
Okay,
by
so
line.
we
This part
created
comes
a variable called token. It equals to JWT.sign. I don't know what that means. What's
okay, but if I see a parenthesis over
Oh,
here,
it's a function.
yeah, it tells us that we're calling a function, right?
Yeah, and then there's a object inside the function.
Good, exactly. So I'm creating a new object right here
Yeah.
with these curly braces.
And then we set the ID to new user ID and email to new user email.
Right.
And then we promise env secret key.
No, this is not a promise.
Oh, it's a process. Sorry.
Yeah.
I said promise too many times. Okay, so and then
Okay, so this is like an environment variable. It's something that we've made accessible to our server application.
do we have to define what it is, or does it already know what secret key is? Or
Yeah, so the way that we were able to establish that was using this library called .env.
oh, okay, I see.
And then we also created this .env file where we put in that secret key right there.
Oh, okay. And
Okay,
then,
so back here.
and then what line? Res.
So yeah, we've done this. We've created this this JSON web token.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're down here on line 16.
And then we create, and then we go response dot cookie, and then we create another function, token. We pass.
So we're not creating a function, right? We're actually calling a function.
We're calling the function. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we created the
So what did we pass to the cookie function?
token.
So we passed a string, and this is
Oh,
saying
yeah.
this is what we want the cookie to be called.
Okay.
And then this is the actual token itself, right?
Okay. From the.
That's what
From
we
the
created
line
here
10.
on line
Yeah.
10. Yeah, exactly. And then
And
this
then-
third argument here, do you remember what that means at all?
No.
This is an options argument, and what we're saying when we say HTTP only is true, it means that we don't want our front-end JavaScript to have access to that cookie. It will still be saved by the browser, but our front-end JavaScript won't be able to access it. And that's just for security reasons. Because those things could be, if you had some, keep in mind always that we're installing lots of libraries and things, and if there's funky, risky code in some of those libraries, things could get exposed, okay? We don't want these tokens to be exposed because basically they're giving users access to certain things. So if I get a hold of your your token, for instance, well, I can be making requests as if I'm you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Line 20.
You're creating, I have no idea, JSON dot status success.
Well, again, same thing, right? I see this parentheses. What does that tell me?
Parentheses is a function.
Yeah, it means that I'm invoking the JSON function.
Invoking a JSON function. Yeah, and then same thing as, no, be setting the status to success.
Right, so we're creating an object. That's what
Object.
these two curly braces are here.
Yeah.
And then inside that object, we have a key of status and
Yeah.
the value of
Value of
success.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So notice here how I was able to chain off of this response object. I was able to do res.cookie and then do .json in there. That means that once I called the cookie function, it actually returned this res back to me. You guys remember chaining from Python at all?
I don't remember anything.
When you were doing users. Yeah, vaguely. Like when you guys were doing users and bank accounts, that sort of thing. We could do multiple deposits together by doing like dot deposit, and all that. This is why I only made a dog app. Hey, there you go. Dot fine, dot pretty. Nice call, Albert. Good connection there. It's always great when people make connections off of things that they've seen or done before. That's what makes this stuff make a lot more sense, actually. All right. We still got a little bit of time left. If you guys want to go over any particular spots of our code, throw it in the chat, or you can speak out loud. That's fine too. Just let me know what else you'd like to look at inside here. I severely need to review everything about login reg. Okay. Well, you'll have multiple videos in addition to what's on the platform because we really banged our head against the wall, didn't we? Anything else, guys, or no? Okay, fair enough. I think we're planning to do some games today in the. So Tanner posted up. Oh, actually, let me stop the video from recording. We'll talk about this real quick.